This is Luke Paulson, the Catholic Conservative, and welcome to the news of the week for July 13th, 2024. And if you enjoy these videos, do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. What is a xenopronoun? This week, the coup in the Democratic Party continues to rage. And while I will talk about this, I want to talk about one reason why it went this far: xenopronouns. Now, according to Predator Jeffrey Marsh, these are pronouns that describe who a person is even if they cannot be spoken. If you ask me, that eliminates the usefulness of a word, but what do I know? Moving on, Predator Marsh could obviously not give an example of this nonsense because it is nonsense. Liberals have begun embracing mental illness and passed it off as oppression, and now we have all of this nonsense.
Kill Texas!
And like xenopronouns, most of what Brandon says is incomprehensible. One solution that his handlers came up with is to approve the questions for his interviews. Rehearsing the interview. In every presidential debate, one party is accused of getting the questions in advance, and the moderators as well as both candidates deny the claim. My mom accused them of giving Brandon the questions, but I doubt that he could remember anything. After all, Brandon only. Claiming that the Border Patrol Union supported him was so ridiculous that they called him out on it. Moving on to the present day, Brandon's handlers are getting so desperate that they are approving the questions in his interviews. After all, he cannot even be trusted with a teleprompter.
It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line.
Moving on, we now have the second radio host who has admitted that they were given questions in advance by the Biden team. Now, this is not necessarily the second time that it has happened, just the second time that someone admitted to it. And despite this, Brandon still struggles. It is no secret that there is a coup going on with the Democrats. After all, Brandon is too unpredictable. Democrat racism. It is no secret that the Democratic Party is so obsessed with skin tone that they will overlook every other trait. And this video went viral. If this had been done by a Republican, the fake news would have had a field day, but since it is Brandon, they will try to ignore it. We, however, will not let them. However, Biden is apparently selective on which melanin-rich people that he ignores. Again, if this had been done by a Republican, the fake news would have had a field day, but since it is Brandon, they will try to ignore it. It is not enough for him to bite fingers, sniff the hair of children, or ask children to rub his legs. This is just downright creepy. One more reason that the coup is going on. However, just as Brandon is selective, so are the lawyers. Selective persecution. It is no secret that every day President Trump has a new persecutor.
Don't you mean prosecutor? No!
During his initial campaign for the presidency way back in 2016, we started to learn so much more about crooked Clinton. So much so that the phrase "lock her up" became a de facto slogan. However, the fake news called this targeting his political opponent. The fake news was even afraid that he would start taking them off of the air one by one. Even today, they still think that even though this did not happen the first time, they are still on the chopping block. Now, at one of Brandon's rallies that has half or less of one of President Trump's rallies, the crowd started chanting, "Lock him up." Sadly, this was not for Brandon's actual crimes, but for President Trump's imagined crimes. The fake news did not want to condemn this persecution of a political opponent, even though this is exactly what the Democrats are actively guilty of, thanks in no small part to George Soros. However, let us talk about those who are supporting Brandon. RINOs for Brandon. It is no secret that there are a lot of people who will say that they are for you even though they are not. Such is the case with RINOs. Adam Kinzinger was a RINO who was placed on the committee to investigate the mostly peaceful protest of January 6th. However, as a RINO, he was not interested in the truth. Now he has effectively endorsed Joe Biden for president. Apparently, President Trump is a threat to democracy for reasons that are known only to him and his fellow Democrats. However, there is one thing that RINOs like him and Republicans can agree on. Joe Biden should run. Of course, we want him to run as it is a nice, easy target. Speaking of things that you are not supposed to talk about, Epstein documents released. It is no secret that the Democrats adore pedophiles. After all, Newsom got into a huge fit when a school would not use a lesson plan that celebrated the child predator Harvey Milk. They needed to celebrate him since he was a founder of the modern LGBT movement. Now we have transcripts from a trial back in 2006 that looked at his case. Note that this is in 2006. This is when the public first came to know about his activities. Before this, he was just a very wealthy man and the public did not know what he was doing. Those that he interacted with included Donald Trump. Around 2003, Donald Trump banned Epstein from all of his properties. This was before the trial took place. So, with all of that background information, the fake news is obsessing over the fact that Donald Trump's name is in these records. By the time of his very convenient death, so many well-connected people got trips to his private island. If Donald Trump was on that island, the names would have been released on the first day. However, since Trump cut off Epstein even before his trial, they decided not to release the names. The deep state protects its own, not that what they say can be trusted anyway. Investing with Uncle Sam. Does anyone else remember the adpocalypse from a few years ago?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Now, I have absolutely no idea if it has gotten any worse, but there is something that I have noticed as a viewer. There are significantly more ads, especially ads that are 20 minutes or more on channels that are conservative, libertarian, or Christian. I bet that YouTube knows that most people skip these ads, and so this will hurt the channel. I just opened the video twice and let the ad play in the background. Moving on, one ad that I saw was for investor.gov. It is a federal website that supposedly gives advice to people who want to invest or do invest, so that they do not fall into obvious traps. This is a good idea, with the best of intentions. What could possibly go wrong? It turns out that the federal government is not very good at choosing investments. They may also dissuade people from investing in things that are perfectly safe but do not align with the goals of the deep state. Considering what we saw with Obama using the IRS to target Tea Party groups, I would not rule this out. However, I promised you all that I would talk about the coup in the Democratic Party, so let us talk a little bit more about it. Electing another white guy. AOC, amongst many of the other mainstream Democrats, are standing alongside RINOs like Kinzinger. They want Brandon to continue to run. This is something that they have said very publicly and very officially. Therefore, it is both their public position and their official position. Cackling Kamala has pointed out that Brandon is running because if the Democrats replace him, they might just replace him with an old white man. Now, if a Republican had said back in 2016 that they hoped that the Democrats would not get another black man to run, there would have been outrage. Let us face facts. 1. Cackling Kamala had the lowest approval rating amongst the Democrat candidates during the 2020 primary. 2. Cackling Kamala called Brandon out over his opposition to busing and claimed that he was a racist. 3. Cackling Kamala was chosen as vice president because Brandon had promised a DEI hire. 4. Cackling Kamala is now even less likable than Brandon, according to the polls. Will she be outed alongside Brandon?
Only Poppins would know.
However, let us talk about the future of the Republican Party. 2025 is coming soon. President Trump has begun publicly distancing himself from Project 2025. Whether this is because of what is inside or just him reading the room with the Democrats is another issue. I wanted to read it before making this, but it is hundreds of pages and I do not have that kind of time. Instead, I decided to look at what the fake news is claiming about it, knowing that they have called drinking milk a sign of white supremacy, and believe that registered sex offenders should read to children in libraries, and will call the police just because someone with ROTC was practicing. The dark claims that they are making about Project 2025 are probably the exact opposite of reality. Remember that Snopes only recently called out the media's lie about fine people on both sides. I do not know if Project 2025 goes too far, but we are watching the media that cried racist. Lucas is furious. George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney a few years ago thinking that he would not be old enough to finish the sequel trilogy. Although it looks like he probably would have made it. Moving on, he is now publicly condemning Disney for the actions that they have taken and what they have produced. Their latest series, Acolyte, has a dismal audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. This rating is actually lower than the Star Wars Holiday Special. Lucas's original trilogy had a powerful woman who was the only one with her head on straight. And the series showed countless alien species all working together. He is right to condemn what Disney has done to his child. However, it is sadly too late now. Maybe I'm just blowing smoke. Maybe I'm completely off my rocker, but that is just my opinion. And do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. But before you go, on the left I have last week's video, but you may also enjoy the video on the right.